Because when you are born, the planetary position has to be drawn. It is not necessary that here Jupiter should be in his house. So Jupiter is also moving. Every planet is moving. So when you are born, planets had one position. Today the planets have a different position. If planets had the same fixed position, then everyone will have the same horoscope. Then average movement of planets is what you must know. You have 12 months in 1 year. 12 months in 1 year. So therefore you have 12 signs. The sun will be in one sign for 1 month. From the middle of every month, let us say. In January, middle of January, sun will be here. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. If you start from here, this is January, number 10. If you start from here, it is April. So 1 month each, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 12. So sun is taking 1 month to stay in one house or one Rashi, R-A-S-H-A, Rashi is the word we use. Moon takes 27 to 30 days to cover whole of this. Moon covers the whole of this. All 12 houses which we call the zodiac. Z-O-D-I-A-C. Every month moon will cover it. Sun will cover 1 full year. Mercury and Mars will always be very close to the sun always. Mercury cannot be more than 28 degrees away from the sun and Venus cannot be more than 40 degrees away from the sun. Mercury, Mars, Venus will cover all the 12 houses every year. Moon will cover it every month. So 4 planets, okay. Jupiter generally will cover 8 houses in 1 year. Mars will cover 8 houses in 1 year roughly. For your understanding, I am not going into the exception when in the 3rd year it will cover only lesser houses. Mars will cover 8 houses, Sun all 12 houses, Mercury all 12 houses, Moon, Venus all 12 houses, Moon every month will cover all 12 houses. For your understanding. Then we have Rahu. Rahu stays in one Rashi for 18 months. So Rahu will cover all 12 houses in 18 years, right? Rahu will stay in one Rashi for 18 months, 1.5 years. So 1.5 plus 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6, 7.5, 9, like that if you count, Rahu will take 18 months to cover. Rahu and Ketu will always be 1/7 from each other. If Rahu is here, Ketu will have to put here. If Rahu is here, Ketu, there are 2 nodes, one at this end, the other at the exactly same position, 180 degrees apart. So Rahu covers one Rashi in 18 months. So we have now 2 planets, Rahu and Ketu, 18 months. So we have now 2 planets remaining. Jupiter. Jupiter will cover one Rashi approximately between 12 months and 13 months. Let us say 1 year. Saturn will cover one Rashi in 2.5 years. So 12 houses it will cover in 30 years. Slowest is Saturn, fastest is the Moon. Moon is covering every month, all the 12 houses. Sun is covering one house every month. So in 1 year it will cover all the 12 houses. Mercury will cover all the 12 houses. Venus will cover all the 12 houses. 3 planets cover all the 12 houses in 1 year. Moon covers all the 12 houses in 1 month. Mars covers about 8 houses in 1 year. Jupiter covers 1 house per year. So 12 years it will take to cover all 12 houses. Saturn takes 2.5 years to cover 1 house. So it will take 30 years to cover all the 12 houses. Is it clear? The motion. Now, having done that, I'll give you a practical exercise. Does anyone remember the horoscope? Your horoscope, anyone remembers? Do you remember your horoscope? Describe. Come on. Either you will have to have a microphone before you, or you will have to talk a little more loudly. Taurus. Continue. Taurus ascendant. Then? Pardon? Ketu in Taurus. Okay. Pardon? Okay. Cancer has Jupiter and Moon. Okay. Now I will make you one full exercise, right? It will become easy for you to do this. I will take your horoscope. All of you will do the exercise. Taurus ascendant. Ketu in the ascendant. Rahu here. And nothing in Gemini. And in Cancer, Kark, Jupiter and Moon. Okay, then. Mars, Venus and Sun. Okay, then. Mercury. Okay. Okay. But is 54 or what? Which year? 55. Okay. You come nearest to that. Once you know the movement, you know you are able to quickly remember the planetary position. Will come nearest 54 or 55. Now please keep on seeing the horoscope. Taurus is the ascendant. Ketu in Taurus. You please note down. Tell exercise. Slowly. If I say Moon and Jupiter are aspecting her 9th house, what does it mean? Moon and Jupiter are aspecting her 9th house. Which is the 9th house from Taurus, from Vrishab? You understood? I don't know your name. Have you understood what I have said? Moon and Jupiter are aspecting your 9th house. Pardon? Pardon? 1. Always. Your ascendant Lagna is the 1st house. Capricorn. Moon and Jupiter are aspecting her 9th house. Now that is the technical language I am using. The technical language of astrology. Mars, Sun and Venus are aspecting her 10th house. Clear? You count the 10th house is this. So in the beginning what you can do is, in the beginning when you draw a horoscope you can put number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 11, 12. So you know what is your 1st house. So Mars, Sun and Venus are aspecting her 10th house. Right? Mercury is aspecting her 11th house. Clear? Saturn is aspecting her 12th house. Okay? Clear? This is as far as the 7th house aspects are concerned. Now let us take the special aspects. Mars has 2 additional aspects, 4th and 8th. So Mars is aspecting her 7th house and also the 11th house. Is that clear? What's her name? Is that clear to you? Mars is here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Special aspect now. We have taken the general aspect common to all, 7th aspect. We are now taking special aspects. Mars has 2 special aspects, 4th and 8th. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. So therefore what Mars has done in your case, please note here. Mars has aspected this house and this house. He is placed in one house and is covering other 3 houses. Flashlight. Okay? No. Clear or no? You count again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7 and 8, 4, 7, 8. So Mars is aspecting your 7th house, is aspecting your 10th house, is aspecting your 11th house. Right? Saturn is aspecting your 8th house, 12th house and 3rd house. Mars, because Saturn has 2 special aspects, 3 and 10. Right? Is that clear? No. Will you please ask her? Now take Saturn. Now please see, watch here. Saturn is here. 1, 2, 3, special aspect. 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10. So Mars is aspecting your 8th house. So your easy way of understanding is, I'll put your numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. For you, the first house is Taurus now, right? So Saturn's third aspect is falling on your 8th house. 7th aspect is falling on your 12th house. And the 10th aspect is falling on your 3rd house. Clear? Okay? Jupiter is aspecting your 7th house, 9th house and 11th house. Now count. Jupiter has two special aspects, 5 and 9. Is that clear to everyone now? So, planets form relationships with each other through conjunction, through aspects, through position. So, I will ask her, if I say your 11th lord is in your 3rd house, technically, you know what it means? 11th lord is his 11th house, right? Lord of the 11th house is Jupiter, and Jupiter in the 3rd house. So if I say in the case of such and such, I don't know her name. Pardon? Jane. Alright, in the case of Jane, her 11th lord is in the 3rd house. 11th lord is Jupiter. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the 3rd house. 11th lord has gone to the 3rd house. Clear? Now I'll start from the beginning. Who is your ascendant lord? Lord of the ascendant is Venus, right? Gone to the 4th house. Okay? Right? Lord of the second is Mercury, gone to the 5th house. Right? Lord of the third is Moon in his own house. Okay? Lord of the fourth is the Sun in his own house. Lord of the fifth is Mercury in his own house. Lord of the sixth is Venus in the fourth house. Okay? Lord of the seventh is Mars in the fourth house. Right? Lord of the eighth is Jupiter in the third house. Lord of the ninth is Saturn in the sixth house. Lord of the 10th is again Saturn in the 6th house. Lord of the 11th is Jupiter in the 3rd house. Lord of the 12th is Mars in the 4th house. Okay? Once we see all these things, whether the horoscope is correct or not, straight away what I do is my method. I will ask you some questions without your telling me. Then I begin to see whether your horoscope is appealing to me as correct or not. Are you the eldest or the youngest of the female children of your parents? Middle. You have one sister elder and one sister younger. What is the position? Third of the? Of 6, you are in the middle. Okay. Do you have any house outside the place of your birth? Where were you born? And you got a house here. So outside the place of your birth, right? Okay. Have you studied fine arts? But a little painting or dancing, what? Pardon? Dancing, right? So like that I'll ask you some questions. You have described your horoscope. So I say I'll ask you some questions. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. Total number of brothers and sisters for you 6. How many? Total siblings 6, right? So if you do not take aspects and others into consideration, your counting will go wrong. So some questions I will ask, and on that basis I say, alright, let me see how the horoscope proceeds. Has your father held any high position in life? Pardon? You don't know. Pardon? He had a short spell in the army, in the navy. In the navy he held some position, some rank. He has to hold some rank, and in the army, it can be navy. Okay? So then I say, alright, the horoscope appears like this. I will ask some questions on the basis of the pattern. Then the pattern begins to appeal to me. So in doing that, what am I doing? Revolving in my mind the relations among planets. So when you come to me and ask me questions about relationships, you are asking about your relationship in terms of love, right? But when we talk in astrology, when we talk about relationships, we talk about relationships of planets. And in this relationship of planets, we see two things. Two planets who are also owners of two houses. Now I'll go slightly deeper, technical. The Lord of the Ascendant is one, Venus for her. Is combining with the fourth Lord Sun. Clear? Lord of Ascendant is Venus, right? Is combining with the fourth Lord, conjunct with the fourth Lord, and is also conjunct with the seventh Lord, Mars, right? Is also conjunct with the 12th Lord, who is again Mars. So now these three planets, Mars, Venus, Sun, are the combination of 1, 6, 7, 12 and 4. So now how many relations they have formed? It means so many things. It means you married, you had a marriage, right? And you married someone who had a house. Okay? Have you ever taken loan to have a house? Right? Now so many meanings come out of the whole thing. You have taken a loan also to buy a car once. So unless you see these aspects in our astrology, you cannot see the story emerging out of the whole thing. You have not to tell me your story. I will say the horoscope and tell you your story. That is astrology. Yes?
About her father, you said he had a high rank. Is that because of Capricorn being on the ninth?
No, it is because Moon and Jupiter forming a Gajikesari Yoga are aspecting the 9th house of Father. That book Yogas of Dr. Charak, if you just take and turn over, you will begin to understand this. In Vedic astrology, Yoga, Y-O-G-A, Yoga. You have heard of one yoga called Hatha Yoga or Raj Yoga, but in astrology, Yoga means combination of planets. It is because of that I asked her. Then I cross-check it. It is just a gross picture which I see before me. In this gross picture, I see promise of a marriage and also some tension in marriage, let us say. Both. Promise of a marriage and also tension in marriage, both. Okay? Right? Correct or not? Promise of a marriage, tension in marriage, and a marriage with a person with a different ethnic background or what? Different religious background or ethnic background? Yes or no? Right? So those things also come out. So each planet has its characteristic. That characteristic will show the characteristic of your lover, your relations. So as I said, you cannot live outside your horoscope. If you could live outside your horoscope, then this will be meaningless for me. What is the degree of your moon? Will you get me some beetle nut there? The degree of the moon, is it written down there? Two degrees 5 minutes. So she is born in Jupiter Dasha. Okay. Born between August and September. Yes. After 15th of August and before 16th of September you were born. Right? What is the degree of your sun? Beetle. Supari. How much is the degree of your sun, or you take Bong Sook's help? Surya. $25. So you are born round about 10th of September. 11th, okay. Once you describe that, we can see the whole thing and find out. Okay. You were born in the Dasha of Mercury, months only 2 degrees. 54 itself. 19 years of Saturn. Add 54 plus 19. That will be 73. 17 years of Mercury. 90. Now 7 years of Ketu, she is now passing through the Dasha of Ketu. Right? So once I look at it straight away, I say, your problem these days is tension in your relationships. Straight? Story A. Correct or no? Huh? This story emerges out straight away. Walking on the road you can tell, well, this is your problem. Now you go to a psychiatrist, what will he do? Take the whole story out of you in 45 minutes and $200 out of your pocket. A very well established psychiatrist of New York wanted to consult me. I was in the house of an American, a lady in Manhattan. She said, well, my psychiatrist wanted to consult you. not finding time. This is his horoscope. Will you please give a telephonic consultation? Generally, I don't give telephonic consultation. First time when you come to me, you must come and sit with me. Let me assure myself that I am working on a correct horoscope. Then I give you a reference. Your horoscope is at page 36 of my notebook such and such. I given you today. When I go back to India, you can ring me from here. Mr. Rao, I am such and such speaking. My horoscope is at page 36 of your notebook such and such. You can talk to me on the phone from India, I will give you an answer. But first time I will not do that. First time generally I want to see and make sure that the horoscope is correct. Right? Then I will work out if there is any correction. In your case, for example, I have to do correction today. If I had proceeded on the basis of what you gave me, I would have gone wrong. So the story is revealed like this here. So what are you seeing? The wheel of time. In New York, the psychiatrist wanted to talk to me. I talked to him on the phone. I said, have you been married and divorced? He said, yes. Is your second wife very beautiful? He said, yes, she is an actress. After telling other things, I said, is there any case against you these days? He said, yes, that's what I wanted to know. Is it for some unethical practice? He said, yes, please don't tell anyone. Then when it was over, I asked the psychiatrist, I am not seeing you, I am seeing only your horoscope before me. I know what exactly is your problem in 1 minute. How much time would you have taken to find out my problem? An eternity. Right? So astrology reveals your psychology, what you are thinking. Therefore, when I tell you, act like this. My counseling is based on 100% scientific analysis. But in doing that counseling, forgetting that you are an American, I may do wrong counseling as a Hindu from India. Right? There I expect you to react intelligently and say, well, Mr. Rao, what you say does not apply to our society and our country. So alright, I will take what you are saying and modify it according to my background. There I expect your intelligent cooperation with me. Now I understand good deal of American society. Still there are many things I do not understand. So you say in our society this can mean this. Why? Suppose I were to tell her, you have had a quarrel with your husband about a house. Suppose. About the possession of a house. She would say, how do you say that? I say, this is my basis. Then she may say, well, Mr. Rao, it is not actually possession of a house. Both of us at some stage took a loan to have a house. And in USA, generally when you take a house, it is jointly in the name of both husband and wife. Right? Huh? In India it is not so. Right? Now that is where this difference comes in. You had a house jointly in your name. Was there any difference of opinion about that? Huh? You have to pay. Okay. So now I see a problem concerning house involving the husband. and a loan involved, the problem comes out clear. So what is the tension in her mind? I see the cause of tension is house involving a loan involving the name of the husband. Right?
It's all over. It's solved now.
No. No, when it was over that I can time. But I see a tension point there. So when we do counseling in astrology, there is a solid basis for it. A very solid basis. Then I will make use of the transiting planets. When I make use of the transiting planets, she was born in 1954. Between 1979 and 82 were you married? When? 80. I am timing her marriage on the basis of a transit now. In 1985 to 87, what was the problem in marriage? Was there any problem? Right? So I am now stopping this and coming to what is known as astrology and karma. You know the meaning of karma. It's a common word. Pardon? In Fairfield. Meaning of karma. And everyone here knows also the spelling of karma. Right? But if I ask you what is karma, will you be able to give me a good answer? If you read the Gita, you will understand. So I will go into some subject of keener religious spiritual interest to you and conclude. Will that be alright? Now you will please follow me carefully. I don't know whether this can be erased. Have I created lot of trouble for your eyes with my bad handwriting? No? Yes or no? Sure. Thank you. That's my problem. In Delhi, you know what I do? I choose the best student in the class with good handwriting. Say, come on, write this on the board. We have the blackboard. They write. I'll make use of the other paper in the meantime. You in the Fairfield are people who have come in contact with Indian gurus or Mahesh Yogi or anyone else. Come and ask one common question. What about enlightenment? Right? He has some tablets for enlightenment. Distribute it, come on. Come on, bring it from there. Bring one each. Korean pills of illumination. When people come and ask me about enlightenment, I first give them this pill. He knows it. Ask them to eat it, then slowly talk about it. Right? So I am starting. Now she has not given me, see this. Now this is your gross body. The gross body which we call the Sthula Deha. I am using the English word gross. This is the gross body. Right? What is rebirth? Entering into some other body. What is it that is entering into some other body? What is it that enters into the other body? Rebirth means the soul. But along with the soul there is something else also. So there is inside this the subtle body. Right? Not inside, but for your understanding. Subtle body is pervading all over. Then inside this you have the causal body, C-A-U-S-E, cause. The causal body in you and in me is the God inside you and inside me. The subtle body is consisting of all the story, the history of the deeds of mine, good deeds and bad deeds, misdeeds of so many births. When I am born, out of a whole lot of my history of deeds and misdeeds, God selects a little part. He says, my dear K.N. Rao, in this incarnation of yours, this is what you will have to enjoy and suffer. Right? That is my birth horoscope. My birth horoscope is the allotment from out of a sum total of the deeds of many births. To the deeds of many births we call Sanchita. Sanchita is the total of, let us say, 100 births. Suppose I had 100 human births before. The totality of all the deeds of the 100 births taken together is the Sanchita. Out of the Sanchita, a selected part is given to me to enjoy or suffer in the present incarnation of mine. That is known as Prarabdha. So when I am suffering, when I am enjoying, it is all the result of my karmas of past lives. Prarabdha. Prarabdha is destiny. That is why one of my books I have described as Astrology, Destiny and the Wheel of Time. Do you believe in destiny? Have you heard of America's most famous woman tennis player? What's her name? Martina Navratilova. Have you heard about her? Have you or have you not? Right? Martina Navratilova, during her time when she was young, used to play against another lady player, Maliva. Magdalene or something. Magdalene. And she beat her every time. She was senior to Martina in age. She got married early. She has 3 daughters. All the 3 daughters play tennis. In 1992, the eldest daughter met Martina Navratilova in Hong Kong tournament and beat her. Few months after that, the second daughter met Martina in Tokyo tournament and beat her. And some more months after that, the youngest daughter met Martina in the US Open Championship and beat her. Within a space of 8 months, all the 3 daughters beat and almost took revenge for her mother's defeats. It was a very famous case of 82-83, 92-93. I was watching the tournament in Delhi on the TV when the youngest of the Magdalene sisters, Maliva sisters, came in. So we were all wondering whether she will also do the same thing. Now that is destiny. Ordinary women players who could not beat other players, they were at their best when they met Martina. Extraordinary good tennis they played. So destiny is destiny. You elected president. Karma gets divided into 3 types. You will have to give me one more transparency and take this.
You need a new one.
Now, okay? Karma, akarma, vikarma. I have explained these things in a tabular form in my latest book, Astrology and Karma. Vikarma means that which leads you on into further bondages. I do something, as a result of which I will have one more birth. Akarma means that which leads you towards salvation. Hello? Okay? When you do any action without an eye on the results, when you do it with pure intentions, without any eye on the results, it is akarma. When you do it with an eye on the results of it, it is a bondage. When you do something which is not acceptable by the society or law, or which causes a motivation in you to commit a sin, it leads you to further, but that is known as vikarma. Vikarma can be anti-society, anti-parental. Vikarma is bad. Akarma is excellent. So karma, a karma of yours can be partly akarma, partly vikarma. Totally akarma, totally vikarma. The greater your akarma, the faster is your speed towards enlightenment. The greater your vikarma, the faster you speed in towards hell, bondage. So each one of us is doing akarma and vikarma. So karma is getting divided into three parts. To get out of this bondage, certain things you do, which you say, well, I am doing meditation, I am doing recitation, I am serving society. What you call your spiritual deeds, what you call your good deeds. What do? They slowly allow your astral body to be dissolved. I told you three bodies, the gross, the astral and the causal. Remember that? This is the gross, this is the astral, this is the causal. So long as this subtle body exists, you have to keep on taking births. When the subtle body gets dissolved, what you get is salvation. Now a question arises, does subtle body exist? Does it exist at all? What is the proof? If I as a Hindu say it exists, hello, you will say very well, that is your traditional belief. You may very well say that is your traditional belief, you believe in it. How do I know? Have you heard of Dr. Raymond of USA? Dr. Raymond of USA has produced series of books on what he calls life after life. Huh? Raymond Moody. He has given many instances as a doctor. Many of them are very interesting, but one or two I will tell you. A patient had a massive heart attack. Hello, please. He had a massive heart attack. He was lying unconscious on the table. With lot of difficulty, the doctors revived him. After that, when the patient got back his consciousness, they told him that they had to fight very hard to save him. He said, why? I was all the time shouting. I was all the time shouting and telling you, don't worry, I am coming back. I am not going to die. So what do you mean by this? I was sitting on that ceiling and all the time telling you, fellows. So what do you mean by that? What had happened was his astral body got detached from the physical body. The astral body was there. In the higher stages of yoga, what happens is, you watch your own body. Your astral body gets detached. Your astral body is sitting there. Your physical body is here. Many people who have death experience of death, will tell you that they had seen their astral body getting detached. Many yogis have the same experience. In India, if we talked about it, they would say, well, that is your traditional belief. But in USA now you are producing clinical studies and giving the same evidence. In some city of USA, New York or Chicago, someone a criminal came from behind, showed a pistol. This person was not nervous at all. So he was surprised. He said, "Are you not afraid?" He said, "No." He said, "Why?" He said, "You can only destroy my physical body, but there is life after death, life after life." "What do you mean?" He said, "I have experienced that." Those who have experienced this know that death is only decay of the physical body, nothing more. There is life after life. That life after life is the Sukshma Deha or the subtle body. So the subtle body is transmigrating all the time. And when the subtle body gets dissolved, you get out of the cycle of transmigrations. That is nirvana, that is salvation. So, give some more enlightenment to this new guest. Everyone must get it today. This is enlightenment pill from Korea. So when the subtle body gets dissolved, what you get is salvation. Instead of asking an astrologer whether you will have an illumination or not, spiritual illumination or not, ask yourself, what is the quality of your own karma? That is all, as simple as this. If the quality of my karma is such as is leading me on to bondage, someone is tying a rope around me, first rope, second rope, third rope, fourth rope, and twist and twist and twist and twist and twist, right? I have no right to ask, will I be free or not? I have only to say, will this bondage stop or not first? Then will it be unbound? So, the art of moving towards the spiritual life is the art of concentrating on akarma. Akarma will mean you must have some area in your life when you do work unselfishly for your purpose. Simple understanding. I have taken very good commentaries of the Gita, discussed this in tabular form in my book, Astrology and Karma. Then given astrological examples also. Now I will conclude by telling you something. What is known as sanskara. You know the meaning of sanskara? Anyone? No? Very good. Beautiful. Lovely. But Americans are not impressed unless I use a high sounding expression. So I am going to do that. Mental physical tendencies. This is sanskara. Right?
What does the word actually mean?
Pardon?
What does samskara actually mean? How to translate sanskrit?
Sanskara actually means that which has been shaped. Right? A language that which has been refined, that which is inborn, etc. Birth after birth we keep on doing certain deeds and as a result we develop our sanskaras. There is a very beautiful incident mentioned in the diary of a famous Chinese traveler who had come to India. His name was Fahian. This Chinese traveler came to India, met a very good Buddhistic Lama. Lamas, you know, Lama. Very learned, very enlightened. Huge, hefty Lama. He was very much impressed. But every time he sat down, he found the Lama was eating too much, in abnormal quantities. One day the Lama picked up his thought and said, "Look here, so many births ago I was an elephant. And the holy deed I had performed was I carried a lot of religious text on my back. As a result of that, I earned the spiritual merit of becoming a human being. And after becoming a human being, I devoted my time to devotion to God. A human birth which is not devoted to devotion is a wasted birth. It is an animal birth then. The difference between animal and human being is the human being has the capacity to worship, to discriminate. So, devote himself. I went on doing. So, all the sanskaras of all the past lives melted away slowly. Only one sanskara remains, the sanskara of eating of an elephant. So, that is why I eat so much. Fahian mentions in his diary. Right? So, sanskaras remain. When I react suddenly to you and you react suddenly to me, well, sometimes with a good motive, sometimes with a bad motive. It is some sanskara of my past life and it is some sanskara of your life. Two of them have come. You have given two. That sanskara begins to chase. You have some sanskara of astrology somewhere inside you, of some birth, which is what has attracted you to hear something about astrology. So a sanskara is formed now, created in you. You may pursue it well in this birth, you may not pursue it well in this birth. In the next birth it will increase. If you do not accept the theory of sanskara, you cannot explain how a child of 5 years can be a genius. Psychology cannot explain with the help of heredity and environment the whole story. There is always a third important factor known as the sanskara of so many births which come into play. In Harvard University, about 6 months ago, they had brought a boy of 2 years from Norway. That Norwegian young child at the age of 2 started saying, "I want to do logarithms." A 2-year-old child who can hardly speak, how can he talk about logarithm? He could not have learnt it in this birth. Pardon? Yes. They encourage him in Harvard. But Harvard University will never concede their rebirths. Right? It will close its mind totally. It is unscientific. But it will say, yes, this boy is a prodigy. You hear of Beethoven, you hear of Mozart. Very early they started playing brilliantly. How? It is a sanskara of so many births. If you have become a brilliant painter, a brilliant singer, a brilliant writer, it is not what you have earned in one birth. It is what you have been earning. So there is a bank balance accumulating. A bank balance which can be negative, a bank balance which can be positive. When your negative bank balance begins to get reduced, you move more towards salvation. That's all. Salvation means your Sukshma Deha or Linga Deha or the subtle body gets dissolved. Whatever you are doing is for the purification of your Sukshma Deha. You may do just nothing. You may not meditate. You may not go to a pilgrimage. You need not go to a guru. You need not take a mantra. But lead an honest life unselfishly. Spiritually you will begin to grow. Honest life led unselfishly is the foundation of spiritual growth. And once you have more and more desires, desires become tentacles and you get enmeshed. And the more is the enmeshing, the greater is the bondage. The freedom from this bondage is salvation. Who among us will get salvation, we do not know, but the salvation pill she has given, let us eat it comfortably and start this stotra now. Right? Okay? We can start the stotras now.